So Prince Harry wants you to believe that he's done nothing wrong, he did not air his dirty linen in public with his memoir Spare, and that his conscience is clear. And Keir Starmer wants you to think that there's nothing wrong, that he didn't ask questions about the contents of emails that the Foreign Office were investigating with the links between his US ambassador and convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, and still gave him his full confidence at Prime Minister's questions last week. I'll come back to more about that in the second half of the video. Let's talk about Harry first. But before that, we are here on Black Belt Secrets because we are diving into the realm of a little bit of gossip, because it's not law and it's not such opinion. So please do subscribe and I'll be really grateful. So let's take a look at this first. I mean, who is he kidding, right? I mean, Prince Harry says his conscience is clear after all of these revelations in his book Spare. He spoke to The Guardian whilst he was on a trip in Ukraine. He said, "I don't believe that I aired my dirty laundry in public. It was a difficult message, but I did it in the best way possible. My conscience is clear," he says. So let's take a look back, shall we, and have a look at those revelations, because this is from The Standard. They say, when Prince Harry released Spare in January 23, he not only gave the British public a sneak peek into the inner workings of the monarchy, he blew the bloody doors off, they said. Revelations from the book initially came in courtesy of a leak from Spain, where the book was released ahead of the UK scheduled date. Remember that? I covered all that in previous videos. The headlines then came thick and fast about the book's contents, from William to Catherine, I think you'll find, allegedly encouraging Harry to wear his Nazi costume, to physical family brawls and claims that Queen Consort Camilla turned Harry's bedroom into a dressing room. Let's take a look at some of these revelations in this book. But bearing in mind, Harry says he did not air his dirty laundry and that his conscience is clear. You can make up your own mind. You can decide whether you agree with that or not. Firstly, Catherine insisted Princess Charlotte's bridesmaid's dress be remade. Now, apparently, although it was tailored to specific measurements, Princess Charlotte was apparently unimpressed with the outfit, which Harry wrote was too big, too long and too baggy, claiming that Charlotte burst into tears when she tried it on, and in response offered to be remade. And then Prince of Wales was unsatisfied, allegedly hitting back, all the bridesmaid dresses need to be remade, etc. Okay, so that might just be a little bit of inside family story, maybe not airing, no pun intended, linen in public. But let's read on. Prince William knew about Charles's affair with Camilla. Now, this is getting into something that really is probably not best shared in the public domain, in a tell-all memoir, but again, you can make up your own mind. You can decide that it's perfectly fine and that his conscience is clear, or that perhaps he shouldn't have written these things. But Prince William was apparently tormented by the knowledge of the other woman in his parents' relationship. It confused him and tormented him, and when those suspicions were confirmed, he felt tremendous guilt for having done nothing and said nothing sooner, Harry wrote. Now, that to me is airing laundry in public. I don't know what you think, but I think that is telling of what went on in private family affairs in public. Later on, Harry claimed that they begged Charles not to marry Camilla and threatened that they'd not welcome her into the family if he did. Prince Charles didn't respond to that request. Another claim that Camilla turned Harry's bedroom into a dressing room. That speaks for itself, really. Apparently, Prince William recoiled from Meghan's hug when they first met. Many extracts from the book, The Standard writes, focus on William and Catherine's alleged aversion to Meghan Markle's unroyal habits, such as asking to borrow lip gloss and when she forgot her own. Harry says, including Meghan's first run-in with Prince William. Now, again, I think this is airing private affairs in public, but again, make of it what you will. They write, it completely freaked him out, Harry wrote. He recoiled. Willie didn't hug many strangers, whereas Meg hugged most strangers. Will had hoped that she would greet him with standard reverence per protocol. To me, that is airing private things in public, but we move on. Will and Kate loved suits. Okay. He said, I was baffled until Willie and Kate explained that they were regular, nay, religious viewers of Suits. Great, I thought, laughing. I've been very, very worried about the whole thing this time. Again, that might be just something simple. William and Catherine encouraged him to wear the Nazi uniform, he said. He lost his virginity in a field. I mean, why he'd put this in a book, I have no idea. Harry and drugs. Now, this obviously has caused him a lot of trouble there afterwards, but maybe that's not family linen. Maybe that's just his own things that maybe he shouldn't have been talking about. Other personal things Prince Harry wrote about himself, I'd rather not read out. But also, Prince William pointed his finger in Meghan's face during an argument. According to reports, the book claims Prince William got into a heated argument with Meghan Markle after she made a joke about Catherine in 2018. Around the time of the wedding, it was alleged because Kate forgot the detail of the wedding's rehearsal timing, etc., and had this argument pointed finger in her face. The physical altercation between Harry and William. Harry killed 25 people in Afghanistan. All things that you might think are indeed airing linen in public. Now, some of them might be silly things, and some of them might be more personal and serious things, particularly about Camilla, but let's back to the article and see what else it says here. It says his comments came just a few days after the meeting with his father, King Charles. It's the first time they've met since February. It talks about Netflix, his court cases. He said it's not all about revenge, but it's about accountability. Underlining his love for the UK, he suggested that he would like to return home to see his family more often. And so now we get to the real reason for the article. He wants the British public to welcome him home. And to be fair, I think a lot of people would. I think a lot of people will say, well, okay, you've done and you've said all these things. Come on back and we'll forgive you if you're sorry. But I think that's the point here. A lot of people won't think that he's sorry. It doesn't sound like he's sorry. He said that his conscience is clear, which to me suggests he thinks he's done nothing wrong. Now, notwithstanding the Oprah interview, all the other podcasts, the Netflix series, all the other interviews, I just don't think that it's entirely straightforward to say that his conscience is clear, that he's not aired any linen in public. I don't think it's quite that simple. But either way, let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, in all seriousness, if you oppose the introduction of digital ID and being traced and tracked as to your every move, every day of your life, you need to start taking your personal data seriously. But your data is everywhere. Bits of your data are collated and published on websites, stored in databases. They pull this information together, they store it. Not only do they market to you, but they can report this to authorities. They can do all sorts of things with your information without your permission, without your consent. But there is something you can do about it. And you really do need to take this seriously. And that is where a partner to my channel comes in called Incogni. This goes far beyond an automated service. You can have custom removals, a targeted approach to remove your data and effectively disappear from the internet. You can erase yourself because if they can't find you, they can't harm you. The information that companies and websites can store on you is staggering. It can include financial information, health information, sexual orientation, religious beliefs, not to mention your full name, even your address, your phone numbers, IP information from computers that you've logged in from or even visited the website from, to things such as your shopping habits, your employment history, all sorts of things that you just don't want people to know and you don't want people to publish. So Incogni will give you access to a dashboard. It will list all of the companies that they've contacted to remove your information. You can tell them specific websites you want your information removed from without going through all the trouble to do it yourself. Incogni will systematically remove your information and erase you from the internet. And of course, as a partner to my channel here, you get a great discount of 60% off using the code BlackBeltSecrets. It's on screen, it's in the description. You get a 60% discount off the annual plan, and then Incogni will do all of the work for you, starting to erase you from the internet and protect your identity. So if you care about your personal data, check out Incogni today. Now, in the spirit of whether we believe what people say, whether there's integrity in what people say, remembering Keir Starmer once in Parliament said to Rishi Sunak that ignoring that there is a problem is part of the problem. You can find that clip if you go on X and look for it. But with all that in mind, now to those of you who are not perhaps up to speed on what's been going on, the outgoing ambassador to the United States, Peter Mandelson, was shown to have links with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Keir Starmer said that he knew about those links, he just didn't know the extent of the relationship and he didn't know the extent of those emails. Now, it came to light that Bloomberg were going to publish emails that were going to show him in a very bad light. They'd obviously contacted the government and the authorities, and the Foreign Office had ostensibly a whole lot of this information and material, these emails, and they were concerned about it. Somebody in government, presumably the Home Office or at Number 10, had put these questions to Mandelson. I presume that Number 10 had a lot of this information already. And importantly, this was before Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday last week. But despite all that, Keir Starmer apparently was not told about the specific details of those emails, didn't ask about the details, didn't really seem or doesn't seem to have been concerned about those details because he didn't ask, and yet in Prime Minister's questions gave his full confidence numerous times, fought for him nonetheless. So he's obviously been taken to task about this, been asked lots of questions about this, and here we end up at interviews like this. Have a little listen to this short snippet. The whole thing's 12 minutes long. You can go and watch it, but listen to this.
You say not everybody had seen every email, but people at the top of the Foreign Office were in possession of some of the very material which you say was so unacceptable.
Well, look, in retrospect, it would have been better if I had been shown the details of the material before PMQs. Nonetheless...
The bits that were in Whitehall already?
Well, in retrospect...
Why weren't you?
It would have been better if I had seen that
You must have wondered
material.
this.
Well, the team were busy trying to get answers out of Peter Mandelson, which they hadn't got answers
And you're sure
to.
they weren't just working, as it were, for Peter Mandelson, trying to protect his reputation a bit when they should have been protecting yours?
No. I've seen...
So the inference here, of course, is if they had all this information, they were obviously either trying to work out how damaging it was, trying to work out whether they could suppress it and stop it coming out, or whether it was something that they could protect him from, could just not do anything about. Perhaps they were shielding Keir Starmer from knowledge about it. You know, to some extent, if you didn't know, it's not your fault. But that doesn't wash when you are the PM of the UK. I just don't buy that. And so for him not to have asked about those emails, about the details, this just seems a little bit strange to me. And you'll notice that he didn't answer the question directly. Let's go back and let's listen to exactly what he said again. Listen very carefully.
Answers out of Peter Mandelson, which they hadn't got answers
And you're sure
to.
they weren't just working, as it were, for Peter Mandelson, trying to protect his reputation a bit when they should have been protecting yours?
No. I've seen the questions that government officials put to Peter Mandelson. I've seen the response he gave to those
You think
questions.
he was obfuscating?
Well, what I'd just say about those questions, they were the right questions, in my view, and they were waiting for Peter to reply, so they didn't know what his reply.
So the next question is, when did he see those questions? Because I'd be very surprised, not to say it's not the case, but I'd be very surprised if he didn't see those questions before they went to him. Or maybe that's all happening in the background and PM doesn't get a look at those. I mean, that seems a little bit far-fetched to me. If I was PM, I would want to at least know, why are you walking and talking? So what's the gist of those questions? Yeah, although the gist of the questions is he's trying to undermine this conviction of this paedophile guy. The response would be, well, do we really want this guy as ambassador to the United States? And that takes 10 seconds to happen if they know the gist of those emails. And then at the very worst, when you go into Prime Minister's questions and you're asked directly about those, you don't stand up and say, he's got my full confidence. How can he possibly have full confidence when he knows that they're asking him these questions, or he's under in some sort of investigation by the Foreign Office or by Number 10 or both? Listen on.
Reply was going to be any more than I did. But look, if you're asking me now, days on, would it have been better if more of this material had been brought expressly to my attention? Then yes, it would have been. But I'm satisfied the team were doing what they could to get the answers out of Peter Mandelson that they needed. And when
There's
those
no bad
answers,
faith in Number 10 at the moment.
No,
Suggestions that
the right questions were asked. I then saw the answers to those questions, and I wasn't satisfied with them.
You accept it was a risk, a gamble, appointing him in the first place. He's got a huge track record of getting into trouble, and you knew that. It was a gamble.
If I knew then what I know now...
And again, avoids the question. Now, the point there is, it's a brilliant question here. He knew that there was a risk in the first place. He had a track record. You can look it up. I won't bore you with the details, but there is a track record. And so this was a risky appointment. It wasn't an ordinary appointment. It was the ambassador to the United States, the official communication and the correspondence, everything, the link between the UK and the USA rested and vested with this man who already had a history and form of scandals. And they didn't think to just postpone any response in Prime Minister's questions about this guy when they knew that he was under investigation about these emails. I don't buy that. frankly. That just, to me, is quite far-fetched. And of course, while all that is going on, a lot of people are feeling patriotic. A lot of people are feeling that they want to take control of our borders. They want to prevent the mass illegal migration and all of these sorts of things. And Keir Starmer and many other people seem to be labeling everybody like that with those views as far right. I think that is far wrong. And I've done a video on my Off the Record channel. I'll link it below. Please go and watch it, to challenge this narrative, to challenge this wording and language, which I feel is so damaging and so divisive. Ironically, is divisive. They, the likes of Keir Starmer and Sadiq Khan and some of the media, they use the language to say that these views are divisive of our society. Ironically, and to the contrary, I think that labeling people far right who hold such views itself is divisive. But more on that in my other video. Please do go and watch it. Thank you for watching here on Black Belt Secrets. And as always, thank you for watching.